Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, CJ. You're watching CJ Reads. We're doing a Friday, Sunday wrap-up on a Monday. Little life update. We listed our house for sale this weekend. We were gone from Thursday to Sunday while people were reviewing the house and there was an open house. We have a bunch of offers to consider now, which is very cool. And it all feels real. We're officially moving, people. We close on our Arizona house next week. Bizarro. Very bizarro. I have been reading. I feel like I'm bit by the reading bug again. And while me and Kiki were out of our house, we actually stayed downtown, in downtown Portland. And I was like 5 blocks from Powell. So I went 3 times. I used the last of my Christmas money on a couple of books. I thought I might as well show you. And then I also got a couple of ARCs in the mail, which would be exciting. And I finished a book this morning and I want to talk a little bit about that as well. But first, maybe we'll talk about the books I bought. When I'm in Powell's, because they do have a used section, I try to find used titles, which makes sense, right? They're not always super accessible and not there for every title, so I kind of like Powell's trips to happen without a list and just kind of see what's on offer and what is gonna be a good deal. I've actually decided that I'm like not into book bans anymore, or buying bans. Obviously I'm not into book bans, but I'm not into buying bans anymore because, like, I don't know, I don't really think that being restrictive like that is cool for my brain or how my personality works, and buying books is a treat and I like doing it, so I'm just gonna be a little bit more mindful of what I'm reading, and like try to not pick up so many buzzy new releases and build a more intentional library. Is that me like talking my way out of trying to control my own spending? I don't know, but that's what we're going for. The first book I got is Paul Takes the Form of Immortal Girl by Andrea, blurbed by Eileen and Maggie Nelson. This is set in the 90s at a gay club in a university town. Follows Paul. He studies queer theory, has a dyke best friend, makes zines, and has a rich dating life, but he's got a secret. He's a shapeshifter. Oscillating wildly from riot girl to leather cub, Paul transforms his body and his gender at will as he crosses the country. So this is about transness, queerness, intimacy, connections, loss. I think it's really wrapped up in music at large and kind of the queer scenes that happen within that subculture. So I'm excited. Been meaning to get to this for a long time, kind of like contemporary seminal fiction queer text. And then next up, they found a used copy of this. I let the Powell spirit guide me. Gold Fame Citrus by Claire Vaye Watkins. We know I love Claire Vaye Watkins. She wrote I Love You But I've Chosen Darkness, which is one of my favorite books from last year. I actually struck up a conversation with the teller who rung me up, and she was like, oh, I saw Claire Vaye Watkins give a speech a long time ago at Tin Shed and I really liked it, but I've never gotten to read her work. And I was like, I just read this book. It was my first thing I read from her. You should read her. She's incredible. I fucking love that book. And she was like, sick, I'll start with that one. So I'm going back in time and going through her catalog a little bit. This is also set in Southern California in the desert, and it follows 2 people who are squatting in a starlet's abandoned mansion, subsisting on rationed cola and whatever they can loot. They cross paths with a mysterious child, and the thirst for a better future begins, whatever that means. It's about myth, what we believe and tell ourselves, cherished relationships, and hope. I think it's kind of like a climate disaster novel, and also like desert exile personalities, which she's excellent at writing about and I can't wait to read. And then I got Mating by Norman Rush because Rebecca reads books, just read it, and yep, and I saw Lauren Euler tweet about it. Again, very beloved cornerstone piece of fiction, National Book Award winner. I'm excited to see what's up. Found a cheap used copy for 10 bucks, so we'll do it. We'll get into it. And then lastly, I got Thin Places Essays from In Between by Jordan Kisner. I love an essay collection, and this sounded really compelling to me, right up my alley. It's about liminal zones, both real and imagined, essays surveying the American sublime, examining our thirst for meaning and its tendency to manifest in unexpected places. The border, the body, the West, debutante balls, medical examinators, monitoring the frontier between life and death, young evangelical Christians in nightclubs, and on Instagram. Mormon women politely trying to overthrow the government. So I read the first one, which was about Christianity and kind of the human desire to believe in something and what a powerful life force that can be and driver of community, and it was really good, and I'm excited to read more. I love this cover. This cover got reworked when Picador reissued it. It used to be kind of like blobby abstract watercolor dots, but this is way more adult looking, I would say. I also want to take a moment here to talk about my new book strap, which holds my pen. Yeah. It's great. I like it. And I also found, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I have been posting in my stories for someone to find a pen that is half ballpoint pen, half highlighter, and not like huge and fucking bulky, right? And you think that would be an easy thing to find, but it definitely wasn't easy to find. But while I was in Powell's the other day, I saw this pen, and it's half fountain pen, which is like kind of neither here nor there to me. I don't mind it being a fountain pen, but the ink is purple, and I would prefer if the ink was black or blue. You know, like I don't need to have purple ink. And then the highlighter on this side, on this one, is blue. And it's like a nice shade of blue, it's not jarring. So I'm getting closer to finding that for when I annotate books, which is pretty exhilarating, honestly, on my quest. So don't be jealous, but I do have a pencil strap now. I started and finished Cold Enough for Snow, which is out by New Directions. It's a little novella that follows a mother and daughter who take a trip to Japan, and it's kind of examining their perceptions. Well, it's really one-sided. It's really examining the daughter's perceptions of the mother throughout the trip, and kind of working through in her inner monologue in real time the expectations or like unsaid importance that she put on this trip, and kind of watching and observing the experience her mom is having instead. So it's kind of like the projected fantasy that you put on this like seminal important trip that is supposed to be kind of a culmination of you and your mother's relationship, and like really solidified time to bond and get to know each other, and to discuss maybe more of the deeper questions and less surface level day-to-day things that come up. And it was just kind of this like woman who was in her 30s grappling with the reality of like she can't control other people's experiences, even if she has intention in the like planning and upfront of things. And I wouldn't say it was met with like any judgment or coldness. It was just like observations. She's like, oh, I went into this thinking we would have X, but now I'm actually observing that we're having Y. And even more interestingly, maybe Z is happening, and Z being this like interior world of her mother's that she can never access or really understand. All kind of a metaphor or a summation of that feeling when you recognize that your parents are human beings and not just your parents, right? I like this part at the end. It says, what claim we have to truly know another's inner world. As a Pisces, I love that. Like protecting my inner world, really living in it and nourishing it is super important to me, and just like kind of how I move through the world. And it was also just a nice reality check that you don't have immediate access to that of other people's, which doesn't mean it's not going on. It just means you can't perceive it always. I like this book. It was quiet and sleepy, and the mother and daughter are both of Chinese descent, so it talked a little about the cultural differences they were observing in Tokyo versus China, and kind of their experience immigrating into another country and what it was like having a more westernized blanket put on them of their upbringing, and like contrasting that in Japanese culture. Talked a lot about art and the weather in Japan. You get a real sense of place in this little book. Quiet and sleepy and sweet. Sweet. Okay, moving on to some proofs I got sent and was able to open when I got home. Okay, so this is Mother Noise by Cindy House, a memoir out by Scribner in May. So this opens with Cindy, who is 20 years into recovery. So this says it's a poignant and beautiful memoir about what life looks like after 20 years sober, and how to live with the past as a parent and writer from Cindy House, a regular opener for David Sedaris. We know I love David Sedaris, okay? It looks like David Sedaris has been her benefactor and champion throughout the years. So that's interesting. My family has a big history of sobriety and the way it's impacted all of our lives, and I love reading from that perspective. And this is a powerful tale about addiction, motherhood, and Cindy's ongoing effort to reconcile the two. Interesting. My mom's name is also Cindy, so that's kind of weird. And then I got Love Marriage by Monica Ali, out by Scribner as well in May. This is following a protagonist who's 26, training to be a doctor, who's engaged to a man named Joe, who has a intense mother who's a famous feminist, and the gulf between their families, the lead up to their wedding, and is an observation of class, sexual mores, and the mysteries of the human heart. Sounds kind of like a family narrative set in Indian culture, and it looks good. Thanks, Scribner. And then lastly, the last proof I just got, also from Scribner, is coming in August of 2022. It's called Stories from the Tenants Downstairs by Siddique Fafana. This is set in a Harlem high-rise, a stunning debut about a tight-knit cast of characters grappling with their own personal challenges while the forces of gentrification threaten to upend life as they know it. So it's an interconnected collection of short stories, kind of like Lot by Brian Washington was, which I did enjoy that like theme, or that idea of a collected short story collection, interconnected I mean, and this sounds good. We're gonna read it. It's gonna be great. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm gonna pick up Monarch by, can I see it from my shelf here? Monarch by Candace Wool, out by Soft Skull next, because I want something weird, a little jarring. I've read a lot of normal books lately. This kind of has like a sci-fi dystopian bent to it, which just like sounds fun and different, and we're gonna do that. Just kind of shock the system a little bit. I hope you're doing well. I feel like I've been MIA, but I am still watching and tubing in the background. I mean, life is just full force, you guys. Prepping your house to sell, not fun. Being out of your house for a week, not fun. We're gonna have to like go to Arizona for 2 weeks and start doing demo on the house we bought down there, and like getting bids from people. And then we're gonna have to like move across the country. It's gonna be exhausting, but I hope we can do it. Okay. I love you. Is this gonna be the thumbnail? Is this like enticing? I don't think it is. Okay, bye.